Hey and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's begin with our daily news. Journalist shares update on Thomas Partey's injury ahead of Arsenal versus Everton clash. Goal journalist Charles Watts claims Arsenal midfielder Thomas Partey could now be available for their clash against Everton on Saturday. Partey was forced off after suffering a heavy blow to his ribs on Friday as Arsenal exited the FA Cup after a 1-0 defeat to Manchester City. Mikel Arteta issued a worrying update after the game as he revealed that the 29-year-old was in a lot of pain, which led to him being forced off. Arsenal fans may have feared the worst after Arteta's comments, but it seems that results from Partey's scan have turned out to be positive. Speaking in his latest YouTube video, Watts shared an update on Partey's injury and says it's possible that he could be back in time for Saturday's clash. Watts went on to add that all the initial signs are positive, and it will be a huge boost for Arteta as Partey has played a key role for the Gunners this season. The £45 million man has struggled with persistent injuries during his time in North London, but he's been ever present for Arsenal during the current campaign. There is no doubt that Arteta's men have struggled without the Ghanaian during his absence, and with just Albert Sambi Lokonga as a backup option, it seems vital that Partey avoids picking up any injuries. Of course, Arsenal had a bid for Moses Caicedo knocked back by Brighton on Friday, so it seems they are well aware of the need to strengthen in midfield. Marquinhos now set to leave the club on loan before deadline day. Arsenal are now set to let youngster Marquinhos to leave the club on loan for the rest of the season. Journalist Ryan Taylor has posted on Twitter suggesting that the young Brazilian is set to move to the Championship. Marquinhos was the latest young talent recruited from Brazil in the summer. The hope is that the 19-year-old will follow in the footsteps of Gabriel Martinelli at the Emirates. Marquinhos made the best possible start to his Arsenal career, scoring on his debut in the Europa League against Zurich. The winger has gone on to make 6 senior appearances this season and broken into the senior squad earlier than expected. His 4-goal contributions in his first 2 under-21 games showed he was already too good for that level. Arsenal's success in the Premier League has limited his involvement to just 1 substitute appearance, but now Marquinhos leaving Arsenal alone seems like the next logical step, especially after Leandro Trossard's arrival. Ryan Taylor took to Twitter today to provide an update on Marquinhos' likely destination. His tweet reads, "Exclusive: Arsenal winger Marquinhos joining Norwich City on loan for the remainder of the season." Gunners have given 19-year-old Brazilian green light to travel to East Anglia for medical, deal likely to be completed in the next 24 hours. The departure of Todd Cantwell to Rangers and Aaron Ramsey's loan deal being cut short has offered Marquinhos his opportunity at Norwich. The breathtaking forward will now have 6 months to get to grips with senior football in England in the Championship. Marquinhos has already impressed Gabriel Martinelli with his performances for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta admitted earlier in the season he didn't expect Marquinhos to be in the senior squad already. When called upon, he stepped up well, considering how little time he's had to adapt to life in England. Helping Norwich return to the Premier League once again now looks set to be his main target. Arsenal letting Marquinhos go on loan seems like the most sensible step in his development. Folarin Balogun dazzles for Stade Reims. Arsenal loanee Folarin Balogun won't forget his performance against Paris Saint-Germain in a hurry. The 21-year-old scored a last-minute equalizer to earn Stade Reims a memorable point against the French champions. According to SofaScore, Balogun outperformed some very high-profile players last night. Balogun has had a fantastic time in League One so far, having already scored 11 goals in 19 appearances. The young forward is just 2 goals away from being top scorer in the league while playing for a mid-table side. His manager, Will Still, has been a revelation at Reims. He was Oscar Garcia's assistant manager before he was sacked in October and took over as caretaker. 12 matches later, still unbeaten in the league, and Balogun has been vital to that run. The England under-21 international needed a successful loan spell this season and has achieved just that. Balogun's making headlines again after a brilliant performance against the champions-elect PSG. SofaScore gave Balogun a 7.5 rating for his performance yesterday, better than nearly all of his teammates. Not only that, he outperformed Kylian Mbappe and Lionel Messi, who was apparently the worst player on the pitch. These ratings need to be taken with a pinch of salt when that's the case, but it's still a good sign for Balogun. Balogun's rise in France has been compared to that of William Saliba, who has returned at an exceptional level this season. There was talk that Balogun may be recalled this month as cover for the injured Gabriel Jesus. Thankfully for Balogun and Reims, that option wasn't taken up, with Edin Ketia stepping up in the Brazilian's absence. The more minutes the 21-year-old can accumulate this season, the better for Arsenal. He is clearly a very bright talent and looks good enough to play a role for the Gunners next season. Where he fits into the team is a more challenging dilemma for Mikel Arteta. However, he will be finding it impossible to ignore Balogun's performances against the likes of PSG. Fabrizio Romano shares Ivan Fresneda to Arsenal latest. Arsenal are pushing to sign new players before the deadline, but one of those players won't be Valladolid fullback Ivan Fresneda. The young defender has been on Arsenal's radar for all of the window. However, no actual bid seems to have gone in, and a number of clubs, including Dortmund and Newcastle, seem to have bided their time when it comes to Fresneda. And according to Fabrizio Romano this morning, there is now going to be no deal for Fresneda, barring any late twist. Fresneda was expected to depart in January after impressing for the Spanish side. However, it seems those interested clubs, including Arsenal, have decided to wait until the summer before assessing. The young fullback clearly won't be short of options. For Arsenal, it seems the notion of signing a new midfielder is more important than landing a promising young defender. The Gunners remain locked in talks to try and sign Moses Caicedo, with the Brighton holding firm thus far. Arsenal have signed Jakub Kiwior and Leandro Trossard during the window already. A midfielder is thought to be high on Mikel Arteta's list. If Caicedo cannot be signed, then it's likely the Gunners spring a surprise name out of nowhere. It always felt like Ivan Fresneda would be a nice-to-have type signing, rather than an essential buy. Yes, he looks a top talent, but he isn't getting into the Arsenal starting 11 now. For the Gunners, getting Caicedo or another good midfielder has to be the priority now. Brighton are playing hardball, but Arsenal won't give up, and we can expect them to be active going right up until the deadline. Ibrahima Bamba deal could be done quickly if move for Caicedo fails. Arsenal could do a deal to sign Ibrahima Bamba from Vitoria Guimarães quickly if their attempts to sign Moses Caicedo fails. That's according to journalist Ben Jacobs, who was speaking to Give Me Sport about the Italian midfielder. All eyes over the next 48 hours will be on Arsenal's pursuit of Caicedo. It was reported late last night that Arsenal had second bid for the Ecuadorian international rejected. The package was worth more than £70 million, including add-ons, which would have been a record sale for Brighton. Roberto De Zerbi's side are having arguably the best season in their history currently. It's no surprise that they are desperate to keep hold of one of their star players. Arsenal don't have long to decide whether to go in for Caicedo for a third time. Instead, Arsenal may turn their attention to completing a deal for Ibrahima Bamba. The 20-year-old has had a great season in Portugal, but isn't currently at the same level as Caicedo. He would be a useful backup to Thomas Partey, who limped off against Manchester City on Friday. However, they believe the Ghanaian will be fit to face Everton next weekend. Speaking to Give Me Sport about the Italian, Jacobs said, "You have spinning plates because you have to be able to move from one target to the other, and you can't let a target know that they are your backup. So it's all about having a consistent narrative with the players and making them feel wanted, because you might have to pivot from one target to another, and it's very normal, therefore, to have multiple players that you think you can get quickly because there is only a few days left to the window. So with Ibrahima Bamba, who is the defensive midfielder at Victoria, he is on Arsenal's radar. The £26.3 million midfielder has had a rapid rise to top-flight football during his short career. He is only playing his first full senior campaign, but is already an important player for Victoria. Bamba's agent have been in London, and that could mean a deal to sign for Arsenal could happen very quickly. He is not at the same level as Caicedo right now, but certainly has plenty of potential. Potential isn't exactly what Arsenal need though, with the season's title challenge very much the priority. Arsenal is starting to accept Brighton's stance on Caicedo. Alex Crook has told TalkSport that Arsenal have now accepted that Brighton are not going to sell Moses Caicedo, having previously been advised by people close to the midfielder that his signature was up for grabs. Caicedo looks to be the name at the top of the Gunners' wish list for the final hours before the deadline. Arsenal have now made 2 bids for the 21-year-old. According to The Athletic, the Premier League leader's second offer was worth up to £70 million. However, that has now been rejected by the Siglas. It will be interesting to see what Arsenal's next move will be, but it would appear Crook is not convinced that they will have another go at trying to sign the midfielder. The journalist was discussing the situation with Darren Ambrose on Sunday, and he suggested Mikel Arteta's men are starting to believe that a move for the youngster may be beyond them. He told TalkSport the following: "I think you will find Arsenal have been ill-informed because I think that they have been encouraged by people close to Caicedo to make a bid, suggesting that Brighton would be willing to sell. I don't think that is the case, and Arsenal seem to have accepted that now, but I don't think any of it needed to get to this point." Arsenal will have other targets in mind. Edu has shown that he is a superb operator in the transfer window over the last couple of years, so it would be a surprise if they had all of their eggs in the Caicedo basket. The crucial difference between how Arsenal used to operate and what they do now is that their list will not keep getting longer if they keep having offers knocked back. At some stage, they will accept that they are better off sticking with what they have rather than overpaying for someone just to get another body through the Emirates door. They will be disappointed if they miss out on Caicedo. He is a magnificent prospect, but their current squad has taken them to the top of the Premier League table. Arsenal could yet make bid for Amadou Onana. Journalist Petty O'Rourke has told Give Me Sport that Arsenal could yet make a bid for Amadou Onana if they get a sense that Everton are open to selling the midfielder. The Gunners remain on the lookout for a new midfielder, heading into the final 48 hours of the January transfer window. As reported by The Athletic, a second bid has gone in for Moses Caicedo. Brighton have rejected the offer, and they continue to insist that Caicedo is not for sale, so it would appear that Arsenal may have to consider other options, and one of those on the radar is Onana. Graham Bailey recently told the Talking Transfers podcast that Arsenal have recently been in touch about a potential move for the Everton starlet, but he will cost £50 million, and O'Rourke has now suggested that they could decide to confirm their interest with a bid should they learn that Onana's signature is up for grabs before the deadline. He told Give Me Sport the following: "He looks like a real top player, and also in the Belgium team as well, so I am sure Arsenal, as well as a number of other clubs, are keeping tabs on his situation. If there is any chance he can be priced away before the window closes, I am sure Arsenal and these other interested clubs will maybe make an offer for him." Arsenal have tried to avoid panic buying over the last couple of years. That was something which cost them in the past, and with that, they have tended to stick to a smart strategy where the long-term picture is never far from their minds. So it will be interesting to see what they do should they feel signing Caicedo is beyond them this month. Onana is on their radar and he is a special talent, so it would not exactly be a panic move to buy him before the deadline, but you can guarantee that if Arsenal are not prepared to meet Brighton's demands for Caicedo, they are also highly unlikely to really break the bank to secure a deal for Onana either. I will be uploading daily Arsenal news show, so keep your eyes on the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate your support. Peace out.